Hello, and thanks for watching another edition of ARFCOM News. Today I want to tell you about why H.R. 127 is intended to lose. We'll find out if Florida's red flag law is any match for Florida man, and I'll tell you why the manager of the Karens wants to speak with the manager of the credit card companies. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the fine, barrel-aged, single malt night vision products offered to you by our friends at tnvc.com, just like Mom used to make. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, tnvc.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. You may have noticed a great disturbance in the force on Monday. The site registrar for
Hold up, Andrew. I think we can get a little bit more up to date than that recorded segment you had. I'm here with Goat Boy, so we are going to hear straight from the goat's mouth what actually happened. So, what happened? How do we get removed from GoDaddy?
So what happened is on Friday the 8th, I believe, we got an email saying there was some content that we need to look at. By the time I looked it up, mods had already hit it, just like everything else. We have a great staff, great group of moderators, and we don't allow this type of stuff anyways. So we responded back with an email to them to let them know the situation was taken care of, and if anything else came up, to just reach out and we'd be happy to look into it. On the Monday the 11th, they sent another email basically saying we are shutting you down. Nothing else. That's it. That was the entire message. Since then, we still haven't heard what the reason was or what the specific or multiple infractions were. We don't know anything about it because they didn't get back to us. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. And so there was no escalation procedure. There wasn't a back and forth. We don't have a history of this being an issue. It's just kind of happened overnight.
Right. So for 10 to 15 years that we've been with them, if they've ever brought anything up, we've handled it. And this was just kind of a, out of left field. We're just shutting you down. Typically you respond back to them. They don't always respond back saying, hey, thanks. But that way they have that. So we've got an email trail that shows we responded to them and we kept them in the loop. Nothing from them. They just, Monday came, they shut us down.
Okay. And I think one thing that we want to make clear is that we don't arbitrarily just handle anything that's thrown at us because our terms of service are also somewhat in line with theirs, as in we don't allow violence and we don't allow illegal activity. We're not silencing our user base. We're just enforcing our own code of conduct that happens to be similar to theirs.
Right. So every site has to have a line in the sand based on what is acceptable, period. It's not us that decides where the lines are. A lot of the times it's your hosting provider or your registrar in this case. Everybody has a terms of service and you've got to adhere to that. That's just the way it is. And it doesn't matter if it's a Second Amendment based organization, a conservative voice, a liberal voice, whatever the company is, they're still going to have a terms of service that you're going to have to adhere to. Again, on our site alone, we've had the same rules for the last, 20-some years. It's not like we're changing them or cracking down or trying to stifle any kind of discussion, but anything that does go above and beyond and crosses a line will get moderated. I mean, we have to remove text that not only puts us at risk, but also puts the user at risk, because whatever you type online, you are responsible for.
Right. So business as usual.
Business as usual.
Okay, so the next thing that everybody wants to know is, where did we move?
All right, so we moved registrars to Epic. I had the privilege of speaking to some of the guys on the executive staff, including the owner of Epic. Their views really align well with ours. They're very pro First Amendment and also pro Second Amendment. Was just a pleasure to speak to them and to let them know. I mean, I really wanted to kind of give them a heads up that we were moving over and we were going to be on their service and make sure that they wanted us, because I didn't want to run through this again. And if we move to a company, even if they say they're Second Amendment friendly, well, a lot of pressure is going to follow. And if they're just going to kick us right back off, then I'd rather not go there. So we made introductions. We talked for a little while. It was actually a great conversation, and I'm very happy to be there. So
awesome.
Yeah, I think we should have a great relationship.
And so we're already there. AR15.com is where it's always been. The site's live. Everything's...
Yep. So we moved to a backup domain that that we hadn't ready prepared for something like this to happen. Once this contingency plan was put into place, we started transferring the original domain, and it took, I don't know, 24, 36 hours, and we were right back on AR15.com. The domain's there now. So yeah, we're good to go. We're running full steam.
Okay. And I think another thing that I kind of want to just touch on, you don't have to get into the details since we're still evaluating some of the things, but we do have a backup plan, right? Like when these things happen, we try to...
Of course. So we try to plan ahead. We've got backup plans for backup plans. We have pretty much every contingency planned out with multiple restoration processes. So there's really not that many point of failures for ARFCOM. You know, really, it's your registrar and our hosting provider, and that's pretty much it. I mean, there might be one other small thing here or there, but for the most part, yeah, we've got plans for every contingency, and yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time to move whatever it is to shift and to alternate to get to those alternate sources and servers. So whatever happens, we'll deal with as it comes, but there's one thing you can be rest assured on and you can be safe with is we're not going to give up and we're not going to just throw in the towel. Whatever it takes, we'll get it done.
Straight from the goat mouth. Blah. Straight from the goat's mouth. All right, guys. Goat's mouth. All right, back to you, Andrew. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We love you.
I love you.
He loves you.
Well, here we go again. The election results from November mean we'll see a slew of dumb ideas from the usual suspects among the control freaks. There are a handful of extremists who never really get anything done but are useful to the establishment gun control advocates because they say outrageous things and introduce extreme bills which are never really intended to make it out of committee, but they shift the Overton window, making other restrictive legislation seem reasonable by comparison. Sheila Jackson Lee is one of these useful extremists. Remember her? She's the one who complained an AR-15 is as heavy as 10 boxes.
I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving.
So much going on there. Where did you get these boxes? What kind of boxes? How big are they? Like a shoebox or like a refrigerator box? Are they full of rocks? Books? Air?
What's in the box?
Why does it even matter how heavy it is? Like, what directly the snoo is your point? If you're trying to say it's too heavy to do something with, I don't know, it's just silly. But she says all kinds of dumb stuff, and I think that's the point. So I don't want us to get too wrapped around the axle about HR 127. We haven't seen the text of it as I recorded this, but the title is "To Provide for the Licensing of Firearm and Ammunition Possession and the Registration of Firearms and to Prohibit the Possession of Certain Ammunition." And it was authored by Sheila Jackson Lee, so I expect it to have the sort of overreaching silliness that will keep it from getting out of committee, just like all her other bills. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it would be devastating if it were passed. It's just this is a move right out of the standard playbook, and I think this bill is intended to fail. This is just the start, folks. Buckle up, things are gonna get rough. We're gonna see a wave of authoritarian bills. Do you remember what happened in Virginia? That strategy of just shotgunning bills into the air like German flak in the hopes that one or two of them get through worked for them in Virginia, and it will be the blueprint for their federal strategy. We're going to see everything from the ridiculous outright total bans of all guns all the way through some more reasonable bills proposed in a few months, which will themselves be walked back a little bit from both HR 127 as well as falling a little short of Uncle Touchy's Secret Basement Wonderland campaign promises. Those are the ones I really want you guys to focus on. But while we're at it, please hit the link down there in the description to fill out FPC's automated response form opposing HR 127. Remember when politicians on both sides of the aisle scrambled to do something after some a-hole terrorized a high school in Florida and Governor Rick Scott signed a red flag bill kicking off a wave of similar laws in other states? That law has been used about 5 times per day in Florida since then to deprive thousands of people of their constitutional rights to due process, to be present at their own trial, to question their accuser, and, obviously, to bear arms. Since every single one of these people was dangerously insane and on the cusp of a bath salts-fueled rampage befitting of the Florida man reputation, that must have been a whole lot of lives saved, right? Nope. There has been no statistically significant change in homicide or suicide. In fact, homicides increased slightly, but not by a statistically significant margin. And as you know, correlation does not equal causation, so even if it were a larger increase, you couldn't fairly blame it on the new law. But the point is, Florida's red flag law doesn't appear to have saved any lives, despite imposing the overwhelming might of the state on almost 2,000 people per year. Look, I'm sure some of those people are indeed dangerous, which is why a judge should issue an arrest warrant and compel them to appear in court and be reviewed by a panel of shrinks. Virtually every state has a process to commit dangerously insane people. I'll bet some of these states could improve their process too. But the important thing is someone who is dangerous enough to seize their guns shouldn't be free to go dig up the guns they buried in the woods or rent a truck and drive it through a crowd. I just hope that small uptick in homicides doesn't represent the handful of actual nutters who were pushed over the edge when the state stole some of their guns and then let them go. Final boss Karen, Shannon Watts of Moms Looking for Action, has written an editorial for Business Insider in which she wishes to speak to the manager of the various credit card companies and urge them to discriminate against people exercising their Second Amendment rights. And before we dig into this pile of prolapsed bantha guts, let's just take a moment to appreciate this image of air guns she chose to head the article. Heckin' scary. Watts complains about scary ghost guns and laments it is perfectly legal to build firearms for personal use. But if she can't get legislation passed to infringe on our rights, she figures she can just pressure credit card companies to deny sales. Why does this remind me of the kid who reminds the teacher she forgot to give out homework on Friday afternoon? If Watts gets her way, it wouldn't be the only things credit card companies stop you from buying, though. You probably can't buy weed, lottery tickets, or gamble with a credit card. So if credit card companies bow to pressure from the Uber Karen, does that mean you just can't buy an 80% kit anymore? Of course not. Depending on how the credit card issuer views the transaction, it might be handled like lottery tickets where you can't buy using credit, but you can pay using debit. Or they might treat it like most credit card companies do with the devil's lettuce and prohibit any transactions on their network at all. Even in that event, you might still be able to use digital wallet services and, in the worst case, Bitcoin or some other crypto. If there's a market, people will find a way to take your money. So, what can we do about it? Write an email and CC each of the major credit card companies urging them not to allow political special interest groups to dictate their policy. Tell them you will close all your accounts if they insist on using company policy to push a political agenda. Industry news! CZ has announced the new Tactical Sport 2, which is a lot like a Shadow 2 SA, but even more competition-y focused. Like the Shadow 2, the Tactical Sport 2 is based on the iconic CZ75, but the TS2 has a longer barrel than the Shadow 2 and no frame rail. It also has a fiber optic front sight, flat-faced single-action only trigger, extendo mag release, and standard 20-round mag, along with the flared mag well and all the usual fuzzy dice and curb feelers you would expect on a competition-focused pistol. MSRP is $1,700. As you are no doubt aware, there will be no SHOT Show this year. Sad face. While that's probably good news for my liver and blood pressure, I will miss dashing from booth to booth and checking out cool new pews. And I know a lot of you folks enjoy binging SHOT coverage from us as well as other channels. But if you need your SHOT fix, Brownells will be hosting their NOT show online January 18 through 22. We should see some new product announcements, sale promotions, and product giveaways. Link in the description, as they say. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things because I sure like making them for you. If you want to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com carry a wide selection of low-carb, fat-free, non-GMO night vision products, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump in the night. And if you want to support us more directly, you can buy fly shirts like this one in our Teespring store, or if you'd like to try your luck and see if you can win your choice of rad shirt from our Teespring store, post a comment containing the phrase, "This little one's not worth the effort," in the YouTube comments, and I will arbitrarily and unilaterally choose the best one. I love you.
Hold up, Andrew, before you put that, okay, time out.